so welcome to the sneak peek.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Don, in case you don't know me, and
I'm Dale.
Yeah, we're the two founders of Safe Software, and we've been doing this for, I don't know what release number this is. This has got to be like 30, I'm going to say.
The first one was really in late '96. There don't think webinars existed then. But you have all those. Well, we know how many CDs because you've got 24 in your office.
That's right.
And there must be another 4 or 5.
Yeah,
so we're close to 30.
We're close to 30.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I had great hair. Yeah. So here we are. Here's who's doing the webinar. It's Dale and myself with the Lizard and the Zipster.
They're helping us out this time.
Absolutely.
You'll see them throughout.
So just the agenda, we're going to go over FME 2020, obviously. Our focus, like last time, is all about the enterprise. And then we're going to talk about our 3 key phrases: connect, transform, and automate. And then some new optional pricing models, right?
Yes.
We never take stuff away. We just add new options.
That's right. It really is the case that FME is no longer a tool for just somebody on their desktop in the corner of an organization. It really can be used to speed the flow of data throughout the organization in a wide variety of ways. And that's what we're pretty excited to be sharing today.
Right. At Safe, we just talk about FME Platform now. We don't tend to talk about desktop and server. We talk about the entire platform. So there we go. So FME 2020 for the enterprise. It's when we started out, we really were zoomed in on the guy who's in the mapping department, the technician. And over time, we've seen this expand to organizations of any size. We work with some very large telcos, very large government organizations, energy companies, all the way down to very small individuals who are solving localized data challenges.
In a survey company, for example, even a one-person survey company. So we target all those, and there's basically something in the goodies today for everybody.
Yeah. And getting back to that platform message, here we are. We have FME Desktop, which again, in 2020 is greatly improved. Lots of improvements in performance. You're going to see FME across the board. FME Server, we continue to take the automations, which we released in 2019, and now we've taken it to the next level. So many of you who have played with automations, we went through, we looked at the ideas and we smiled because many of the things you were asking for were on our roadmap, but we weren't able to get it in 2019. And then of course, what's FME Cloud?
It's really FME Server, where we supply you the computer on AWS.
That's right. Yeah.
And there's actually some other cloud deployments, if you stay tuned in till the end, that we'll be talking about as well.
Lots of excitement there. Yeah. And just some key phrases for this release. No code enterprise integration is a big one. As FME becomes the #1 enterprise integration platform for spatial data, no other enterprise integration platform can touch us when it comes to working with spatial data. And spatial data is only becoming more important to the enterprise. You can see that, and we'll highlight that as we go through here as well.
Yeah. So there's things around the performance side. We always, because your data volumes keep getting larger and larger, we need to keep FME able to handle that. And so we have put a lot of R&D into that. And that's been going on for many years. And more of that is surfacing into things that will change your workflows on a daily basis.
Yeah, so again, connect, transform, and automate, and then the pricing. So here we go. Okay, so connect, FME 2020 connects to more systems, data, and apps than ever before. And also now with the automations, the mobile FME server, the FME server apps, the mobile apps of Data Express and FME AR, we're also taking that connect to the user and enabling the user to connect with other applications, with their data as never before. So that's kind of extending the connect beyond just the technology to also the users.
I know we're not supposed to talk about FME World Tour just yet, but I know one of the FME World Tour talks is called data democratization. And that's really what this connect is all about, is getting data out to the broad masses within your organization, removing the friction, letting that data slide right through to whoever needs it. And that's what all these pieces put together let you do.
And applications, here are just some of the new applications that we connect to. We have a partnership with CityWorks. Local government is a huge customer of ours, and also with CityWorks, so great work there. The Ezra Utility Network, Google Cloud Services, IBM Maximo, and Tririga, and
Yeah, so really, again, in the old days, we would be talking to you about the latest file format we read. There's very there's a few file formats added to FME this time, but really the world has changed and it's now connecting to applications.
Yeah.
And we have spent a lot of time and effort over the years, again, bearing fruit this time around in terms of our infrastructure on OAuth or authorization and all of our web infrastructure. And that allows us to connect to things like Maximo and these Google services and so on, and release them out to you on a timely basis. So we're pretty excited about this.
Yeah, and if you go to FME Hub, you'll be able to find many more. And then as far as data, you're starting to see us connect to more and more cloud data. At SAFE, we always want to be cloud agnostic. So we strive to connect to all different types of cloud data, whether it be Amazon, Microsoft, Google, or others. So you can see here in 2020, we connected Google BigQuery, but also the Google BigQuery GIS, which is the spatial capabilities of Google BigQuery, as well as some Google storage stuff, just like we did AWS S3. We now do the similar things with Google and Microsoft.
And I've seen Kafka popping up in more than one place, and customers are out there making use of that. And that's all around dealing with streams of data, streams of messages coming, and then FME can attach to those and then start processing it. So that's a theme. And I think there's a few of these sort of streaming things we can connect to.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then and another big one is the Snowflake Data Warehouse. We've added a reader and writer on that. And stay tuned for more exciting announcements around that. And I didn't even know we upgraded MongoDB.
It was a big deal because it was a breaking API change. One of the joys we have at SAFE is the 500-ish things we connect to. You know what, Don? They don't stay the same.
Yeah, I know.
And so part of our pledge to all of you is that we keep on top of all this. It's a huge job, actually. And Mongo was just one of them. So the Mongo folks out there will be pleased to know that we can make use of the latest versions of things.
Nice. And here's, of course, the new spatial formats. We never neglect our core, the thing that we do better than anybody else. So we continue to raise the bar. So City JSON, which is like the JSON version of City XML. So we're excited that that's
City GML. There's a little bit of a bun fight between the two camps there, but we don't care.
No, that's
we'll
right.
supply buns to both
camps. That's right.
And so anyway, it is the City GML data model, but expressed in JSON. So for some scenarios, it has some advantages, and hey, we have that. So that's actually in the release. Version 3 of ECW, we worked closely with our friends at Hexagon. This was actually in FME 2019.2, but it's worth highlighting for people because it was more than 10 years since we were able to update that. And so that's a big deal for the ECW folks out there.
And getting back to Dale's comment about APIs changing, you can see on the bottom note there, that the Google Sheets connector is going to have a brand new API, and the old API will just cease to exist at some point. And and again, we're going to make sure we're on top of that to release that before Google makes the change.
Yeah, I think that the current schedule for that is sometime in the fall. Right. And so that's just a heads up. If you're using Google Sheets, you'll want to plan that at some time before the fall, you'll need to update to our latest Google Sheets connector, and that one's going to be delivered as a package. So that means anybody. I think we'll also make it work for FME 2019.2. So if you have FME 2019 or 2020, you'll have to upgrade to the latest reader, and then everything will just work. If you're using an older FME with Google Sheets, kind of bad news for you. You'll have to at least go to FME 2019.2 if that's your thing.
Yeah, and that's just the pain that we live in with these web APIs. They come and they go, and
which is why we try to use packages for them. It allows us to more. The packages are this way that formats in FME can be installed without a whole FME installed. But just to finish up on here, Entwine is for accessing point clouds that are stored in the cloud. So two uses of the word cloud there, but I think there's more than 1 trillion. Get your Dr. Evil on there. 1 trillion points are up there from a bunch of U.S. states, and they can be accessed very efficiently. GeoPackage, the rival of our friend the Shapefile, at least in GeoPackage's mind. But anyway, it is a very powerful format, and we continue to stay at the top of all the things, all the developments there. And so that got more than just elevation support, but if you're doing elevation, it's in there. Macbox vector tiles. We still know we can make it more efficient on the writing side, but if you want to read and write with it. And lastly, this other one is really, Don would know more, but I3S is the main consumer of this particular raster format.
Yeah, and so what this does is enable you to have textures that are much smaller, more efficient to stream. So so we're pretty excited about that. And it didn't make the cut, but we made a lot of work on Esri's i3S too.
Yes.
And that just goes to say a lot of the existing formats have been tweaked and added and expanded to move to the latest and greatest. Yeah, we'd be here. We'd be like an XML webinar
Yes.
if we talked about them all. So yeah. And here, speaking of XML, that's a great time. So yeah, so the first bullet's a big deal. If you're an XML person, this ability to use the XSDs to drive a reader and writer is a massive amount of work. We've been working on it for years, and we're really excited in 2020 to have that release. So that's and you're going to see us build on that to be able to add XML formats at a rate like you've never seen before.
Maybe for the XML filibuster webinar, you could have people email you in live an XSD and see if you guys can write to it.
Oh yeah, or read it. Yeah,
yes.
That'd be awesome. Absolutely. Yeah.
What about beer XML?
We can do beer XML, but it didn't seem to fit with our brand, and so we'll leave that as an exercise for those who are.
But
motivated.
if they have the beer XML,
if they have
XSD.
beer XML, yeah. But there's also a wine XML that enables people. I think it's vintage XML or something where people track wine.
Okay.
There's those two. So yeah, so branching into other markets.
New markets.
And then you can see the new UK master map variants, readers and writers for all of those. Again, making it easier for you. And then the OGC S121, which is all around marine boundaries. Yeah. And then Topo JSON reader and writer. Yep.
Maddie is asking about WMTS, which is a format for storing maps. We can read those generically, but we've never exposed it yet. Yeah. And there's more people asking about that. So Maddie, if you want to tell us what your use case would be, we would love to dig into that and see what we can do in the future. There is that capability in FME because we use it for the background maps in Data Inspector.
That's right. That's right. So we can do it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, cognitive services. We've been, working on this for a number of years for both those that are on the desktop with OpenCV and NLP classifier, etc. Yeah. But now we've also are working to embrace all the cognitive or machine learning services that are on the web, whether it be Google, Amazon, Azure, or others. And the Pictera one's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's a company that we've been working closely with that does some really amazing image analysis or feature extraction, really. Yeah. And Dimitri was doing tests with that I think he's going to show at some point, which you'll want to watch. But I think it was to pick out the cracks in runways.
Yes, that's right.
It was really impressive work going on there. So all these are up on the hub, I think.
Yeah.
And you can try them out.
Yeah. And then AEC construction, that's a big area for us. And our Revit reader has now taken huge strides to make it, for both 3D as well as textures, as well as being able to extract floor plans.
Yeah. So we'll talk more in a second on Revit. IFC, again, a whole bunch of new extensions I think were added.
Yeah, and we're now moved to the latest version, and all the geometry types are now supported for reading and writing.
Yeah. And do you say 12D or 12D?
12D.
12D?
Yeah.
So that's something that is used widely. There's many thousands of users of that worldwide.
Yeah.
And we've got a great reader, and I watch the logs go by and I see that a writer is coming soon.
It's coming soon.
Yeah. So that's a big
Probably
deal.
forgot one.
So on the Revit side, we thought we'd give it its own slide because it was an enormous, like this is the end, not the end, but a milestone in about a 3-year development. And so big deal around floor plan extraction, which for people doing indoor mapping. Yeah. And we got a little animated GIF pulsing back there because we also fixed up our center line extractor so that it can basically thread the centers of what would otherwise be the whole thickness of a wall.
Yeah.
And it turns out that's a little bit of a harder problem.
It's a very hard problem. Yeah.
So anyway, the 1-2 punch of Revit floor plans, and that sets you up nicely for getting floor plans into GIS or indoor mapping.
Yeah, and IMDF was just certified by the OGC.
Oh, it was?
There's just just went through, just got that this morning.
So that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So indoor mapping data format.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. So and then also you can get all kinds of metadata and parameters, and that's one of the key values of our Revit reading in FME is actually getting all that out of there. And there's a lot of scenarios where people don't care about the geometry. They just want to get that rich attribute data out of there. So anyway, very pleased with that. If you're doing stuff with Revit, give it a spin and let us know.
Yeah, medical imaging data, we continue to put some effort in that, a new reader writer, and then some new transformers that, like the raster register, raster segmenter, and the sharpener, those are valuable for all raster workflows. Yeah. So we look to, as we do these new things, we look to how can we harness the technology to benefit the whole platform. Plus there's some brain specific transformer coming this year.
It's the brain extractor.
Wow.
And I always like to throw in a reference to the classic Star Trek episode.
One of the best of all time.
Spock's brain. Spock's brain, if you really have nothing else to do, you could go look that up on Netflix.
That's right. Yeah, nothing else to do, yes. Yeah. And of course, the next thing is, bringing the power of FME so you can take it with you on the road, and that's bringing the power of FME to your mobile device. And FME AR, do you want to talk a little bit about this?
Yes, so the big thing that's been added there is the ability to have the model snap and be at one-to-one.
Yes.
So in that case, do you want to run that vid again, Don? Is it dangerous? Will it do something? So in there, Dimitri has made an example that wherever you are, you hit a button and it generates you an AR of landmarks. Whoops, that as you
Oopsies, come on, baby.
Whoa, there, yeah, okay. There we go. Enjoy the little clip. But anyway, the main thing is you can get, instead of the model only being in sort of Princess Leia mode,
Yes.
where it's on the tabletop,
Yes.
only, you can hit a button and now it's at one-to-one. And so you can experience and walk around inside the model. And then this business of anchoring allows you to snap that model to where it is in the real world. Yeah. And so we're going to be doing more, making more noise about this, but it allows you to see infrastructure where it's at.
Yeah. So for utility companies or cities with underground. Yeah, we've
got some pilot projects underway that we should be able to report results on in a few months' time. But the 1-2 punch of the FME Data Express, that's a teaser for coming later, which lets you run workspaces on FME Server with parameters that you get off of your mobile device. So you use FME Data Express to request a model for where you are, and boom, down it comes, and now you can see the infrastructure. So anyway, we're pretty excited about that. This right now is iOS only. We're behind on the Android side of things. In the chat window, if you would use Android FME AR, let us know, and you could be one of our lucky early testers. Yeah. So
yeah, so the next thing is transformation. And again, FME 2020, a lot of work on performance and new ways to do transformation, as well as these are important for your organization because now you can extract more data out, transform your data to make better decisions. So that's what that's all about. So the statistics calculator, 100 times faster.
Yes, so huge work gone on there. Perhaps there was some low-hanging fruit to be had, but nonetheless, we know that there's many people out there using statistic-related workflows with FME, and they're in for a pretty big treat. So now you do have to right-click and say, update the transformer. It has an all-new user interface.
Which is so much better than the old one.
Which is better.
My goodness.
And so, boom, you get that interface, you choose the stats you want, and sit back, not too much. No. You barely get to even.
No, you don't even get to sit back, really. By the time you sit, in the old days, you could sit back.
Yeah, but we have cases that are actually more than 100 times faster. Not every case. There's some. I can make you a case where it's basically tied. But basically there's that. The other thing that we mentioned in passing is that inside of Workbench you can stylize a connection line. So in that example, there's one that's been made red. But the key thing is when you do that, you can also say style everything all the way back. Yes. So show me how I got here, or the other way, show me where I'm going. And that's a way of tracing, which was unexpected.
Because then, and that's surprisingly useful. If you're having a value, you don't know where it's coming from. Now it's really easy to just go trace back and see all the potential data sources that impacted that data. So it's great.
So on the data inspector, it didn't get a huge amount of work, but the 3D rendering is drastically faster than it used to be. And so that's something that's gone on there. On the transformer side, we talked about our raster friends already. The other major addition is us embracing Proj. So the way we see it, the world is really basically there's not a lot of reprojection libraries out there, and Proj from the open source world is really come along. Both Esri and SAFE were part of the funders of the Proj barn raising, it was called. And Esri has also got its own reprojection stuff, and that's in FME as well. And of course, FME has its traditional one called CSMAP that's not going away. But at the same time, there isn't a lot of new development on it either. So Proj being a big deal. And there's also, Don and I had a briefing yesterday, if there's anyone tuned in from the Netherlands, there was the RDNAP. RD Napster, we could call it. But anyway, RDNAP is possible to do with Proj, but also as its own thing. But anyhow, all that Proj stuff is in FME. So if you're kind of an organization centralizing on that, we've got you covered.
And last but not least is the whole automation or the automate part of our story. And this is, you've spent time on desktop, you've authored your workspaces that move data between different data sets or different applications. Now you want to deploy to server so that these things can just be done automatically based on events from other systems or the arrival of data or anything like that. So here's our friends, and they have something to say, Dale.
What are they saying?
So the Zipser says, if you haven't tried FME Server 2020, you haven't tried FME Server.
Yeah.
That's how excited the lizard is about.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, the lizard doesn't tell anybody where to get it. That's why he has a sidekick who says, yeah, just go right here and try it out, give it a try. And we're so late in the beta cycle that you can think of it as a release preview, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can they spin up FME Cloud with these betas or not? I don't know.
Yep, they can.
Okay, so
absolutely.
If you don't want to install
if they go to
anything,
FME Cloud, they can just spin up one of the latest ones. I think it's 21.8.4, which is really recent.
It's a good one.
It's a good one.
It's a fine one. Yeah.
So just for folks who haven't seen what automations are, in 2019 we announced these automations, and these are event-driven workflows that are again built in a graphical interface. So you'll have a trigger, and there's many different types of triggers, from webhooks to data arriving to schedules, and then what you can do is then chain many possible actions. In 2019, we talked about orchestration, because what you could do is you could have a single event orchestrate a complex workflow of many FME workspaces. So you could do something like this, and it was a huge step forward for FME and all of our users. It only had 2 outputs though, and that was, we knew this was a weakness, but hey, it was the first release.
And you actually couldn't really pass information from one to the next.
You couldn't. You would have to do it, in other ways, like write to a hidden file,
right?
And then
external.
So it was really, so you couldn't have the one workspace really influence the other workspace. And you also you had to do kinky stuff, like if you wanted to filter something, you would have the workspace fail, which was really disturbing, because then you look in the job log and you see this workspace had failed because somebody used the terminator. And so very limited.
Look at Helmut is asking exactly what you're about to say, Don.
Oh, Helmut, you're going to be excited.
Yeah.
Okay, so in 2020 we delivered enterprise integration. So now you can integrate and connect applications that's across the enterprise. And so what this looks like is this. So now you can see this workspace called state size splitter. Will take a message in, and based on what it discovers within its workspace, it can send a message out of either humongous, large, medium, or small, or a combination of the toughest. So now the workspace can actually control the flow of information as well as add information to a message. So you can do many.
Because that's really what Helmut's getting at. They're on that humongous port, you've actually added, under the covers, you call them keys, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
You've added stuff from the workspace that can be scooped out by people down the line.
That's right. And so this is what it looks like. So the step 1 is you use a brand new writer called the FME Server Automation writer. You just add it to a workspace like you would any writer. And you have feature types. Each of those feature types becomes a port. You define the attributes that become keys on the JSON message, and then the guys downstream can pick it up. You can do lots of interesting things.
In this case, you had them all 3 of them or 4 of them have the identical schema, but of course they don't have to.
That's right. Yeah. In hindsight, that wasn't exactly the greatest.
Well, it's an example.
It's an example. That's right. I was excited about it.
It's less than 10 transformers.
And that's my rule. So
and Helmut likes it.
Helmut. Well, there you go.
I mean, if you struggled with this is a big deal.
That's right. We got 3 nice with the last one in caps.
Yes.
I'm sorry, with an exclamation mark.
Yes.
So there you go. Yeah. And so you can do lots of different things. The big thing now is workspaces can control, add fields to messages and things like that. So this is huge. So
power is amazing.
Yeah, really. Yeah. And so this is going to totally change how FME solutions are built. Now you can build small focused workspaces and run them in series or in parallel to maximize the amount of parallelism on your machine. If you have 10 engines, then the automation where there is parallel, they will run in parallel. And so we're really excited about this. This is a big deal. So what can you do? Well, there's a book that we have here. We probably have 6 copies of it called Enterprise Integration Patterns. Yeah. And this has really been the driver of, okay, what are the things we need to be able to solve when we're doing enterprise integration? And we can do 35 plus patterns, including everybody's favorite called the process manager, not monitor.
Ooh, okay, yes. Wow.
Yeah, and so so we want to know what we can do and where we're going. That's a great book to get. Yeah. And so now you can also do dynamic workflows. You could have one message come in and many come out. You can also have loops in there. So if you look at the dashed lines, you can see those are where a loop exists. So you might have, you know, in this case, we have a process manager tells with a bunch of different tasks after it, and it controls how many of these tasks are going to do. And so that enables you to do many powerful things. Projects, of course, have been improved, but
nice touch with the dashed lines on the loop.
Isn't that nice? Yeah,
that was very well done by the team.
And you can't get those lines to go through the nodes anymore.
So the name of the book, somebody wants to know what's called.
Oh, they want to go back. The name of the book, Enterprise Integration Patterns. Yeah, and if you go, and there's a website as well, enterpriseintegrationpatterns.com. Steph will slack that out.
Yeah. And then, but it's kind of, we can't stress enough that is really important to understand.
Yes.
And if you want kind of the theoretical foundation for what we've created, you should be reading that book and looking at the examples. The key thing is with FME, Don, how much code do you have to write to do this?
No code. And in the book, when you're looking at all the examples, you're writing a lot of Java.
Yeah.
And so that really is another thing that separates us from any of the other enterprise integration solutions is you're writing code. You pick your language, but you're writing a lot of code. Whereas here, there's not even a way to write code. The only way, the closest you can get is within the FME engine.
You can always duck out to Python if you really want to.
You have to go inside. That's right.
Yeah, but that's inside of a workspace. But the whole framework is going to look after everything for you.
Yeah. And the next big thing was this FME Server Apps. Dale touched on data democratization. That is such a good word.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
We should do a talk on
that. And FME Server Apps, we released those again in 2019. And folks wanted the ability to create an app that anybody could run on the server. And then we did that, and immediately all of us wanted the ability to create these authenticated apps. So this is a really thin, again, real thin layer on top of an FME workspace. And the idea here is that you don't have to write any code, but you can deploy this across your organization. And the users who are running this, there's no indication that underneath this is FME Server. So you, for your company, you can put your company branding. You can see for the world tour, you can see that there's no FME Server anything. And the next one was sometimes you have workspaces that take no parameters. And so now you can just have them run immediately.
Right. So if they're curious about that app, they should plan to come to FME World Tour, and we'll dig into. I think Jen is on the Q&A panel. She'll be, at least on my World Tour, talking about it. She doesn't go to all the World Tour stuff,
no.
But somebody will tell you how this is made, and it's pretty amazing, and it's just a taster of what can be created. And again, how much code did Jen write to create that?
She did not write one single line of code.
Right. She could. I know she's talented. But you didn't have to.
That's right. And that was the target of this, because there's lots of ways for people who can write code to create nice web pages. The ability to create a nice web page without having to write a single line of code or even know what JavaScript is where we're going for. And so then now we can also add the ability to draw a box or a point called in the geometry picker.
Apps with maps.
Apps with maps.
It's kind of funny we were sort of late to that party in some respects, because if you go back in time, so there'll be some people on if you're on this listening and you use Spatial Direct, you should chime in and we should give you a high five. But anyway, Spatial Direct was all about clip, zip, and ship. And that was when we had maps in the interface that let you select a download area. And after all these years, we're going to let you recreate with like a few clicks. You can do a Spatial Direct, clip, zip, and ship kind of data portal. But you can do a lot more with this, because you can also, in this case, we're reporting potholes or any kind of stuff like that. You can do.
And then there's the FME Data Express. So I'll click on. Oh, it's
going. So the idea of Data Express is to allow you to create mobile apps without writing any code. And so these FME workspaces that are published to server can then be turned into an app. And so this is one with Data Express where they put a QR code on Dimitri, and then it scans the QR code.
I knew that tattoo would come in handy one day.
And then here his answer comes back, and it tells you all of his details based on the QR code. And actually, that's a funny example, but we actually have customers that have assets with QR codes, and they give this to people.
Well, do you realize that FME could be used for facial recognition? All we would require is everybody have a QR code on their forehead.
There you go.
Yeah.
It'll be just like Minority Report.
That's right. That's right.
So anyway, Data Express, both Android and iOS, and it is a very easy way. You connect it to an FME server, or you give it a URL to an unauthenticated app.
That's right.
And now you can make a shortcut on your mobile desktop in
Yeah,
quotes.
yeah.
It's the home screen,
Yeah.
and one click, and now you can do stuff. So yeah, it also can do the geometry picking. So you can have apps with maps.
That's right.
With no code.
And it's easy for you to get your current location. That's kind of the default, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, any kind of parameters. Of course, it uses the camera as well. If you want to take a picture and send that in.
Yeah.
I do think the parking app that Jen will demo on World Tour does that.
So to be clear, if I was a utility out in the field and I wanted to take advantage of underground pipes, what I would do is I'd go in the field with my FME Data Express.
Yep.
It would send my location to FME server that would stream back the AR, and then FME AR would just open.
Yes. Whew. And in fact, there's even a thing in the latest FME AR where the AR file expires after some amount of time.
So then it would refresh, or?
So yes, so that's the idea. So if you're looking at something that's situational,
right?
If you won't accidentally look at the situation from a week ago.
Yeah.
Now probably the pipes shouldn't change that often.
Right. So you'd be disappointed if you're waiting for the pipe to change.
Yes. But if it's something, actually, there is a real case of monitoring fires that way.
Yeah.
And that would be something that can be done.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so FME Server 2020, again, FME Server 2020, I just want to reiterate, FME Server 2019 was a big step. 2020 is a huge step, but even above FME Server 2019. So you really want to give it a go. And we also did some, I wouldn't say new look and feel, I would say we cleaned up the interface. It looks a lot like the old one, but the menus have been rationalized more.
Some different wording in there.
Yeah, different wording and brought things together a lot in a more logical fashion. One of the things too is you can now upload workspaces simply by dragging them through the web interface, which is really handy. I encourage you to publish the first time from desktop, but then from then on you can drag and drop. But yeah. And then this was one that was asked for by users. You'll recall in 2019 we had a security notice, and you had to rely on us to remove it. Now we have this FME Server admin broadcast message. So if we do that, an administrator will see it. And it'll be shown to the users. They can then go in there and silence it. They can also go in and send their own message to users. So maybe you need to bring the FME server down because you're going to do hardware maintenance or something like that. So you could send a message letting users know, and every user would see that. And so this really enables the administrators to communicate with their users. So yeah, super exciting. Yeah. And of course, enhanced security. This is something we do every single release. We look at things that users have asked for, as well as other things that we're doing around here to make our whole operation more secure. And we work to add them to FME Server. So now you can set a password expiry time. I know Dale's a huge fan of every 30 or 60 days his passwords change, and
I think it's 90, but it's still
it feels like 30.
It feels like 5, and then like even on one device you end up having to change it like 6 times.
Yeah, that's right.
But anyway,
it's okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have another stiffer drink here. We just love our new password security policies at Safe.
That's right. And also now the admin, in the old days you could log in, admin. Now, the first time you log into a new server, you're forced to change the admin password. And also, we have the ability, we can restrict concurrent user login. So you can make a setting so that a user can't log into multiple browsers. If he logs into a new browser, he's logged out of all the other browsers.
Because I'm often logged in from somewhere deep in Eastern Europe at the same time as I'm in Vancouver.
That's right. Yeah. And then you can also require users to reset passwords. So if there's an incident, you can go in and then click a button, and then users have to reset their password. So and of course, as we look at things on the technology side, we also look on the business side and look at where's industry going, what are some new licensing and deployment options that we can give people to give them more flexibility when they're deploying FME. And we don't take anything away, we just add new licensing options. So if you're happy with the way things are now, no worry, we're not going to force you to do anything, but we're pretty excited about some of these new options. The first ones are subscriptions for local government based on population. So if you want more information on that, we can send it to you, or go to our website under pricing. But basically the concept is it's based on the population. So if you're in a small city of, say, 15,000 people, then for a set price, you can have all the FME you can eat. And then there's enterprise subscriptions, which is, again, rather than purchasing FME, you have to purchase the first year, and then you have maintenance at 20%. With the enterprise subscriptions, you're on a subscription. It enables you to use different budgets to get FME, and also you don't have that big first year cost. You just are on a subscription. Now the flip side is you don't own it. It's not perpetual anymore because you're on a subscription. But for many organizations, this is the way it goes, and more software is moving to the subscription model.
It of course allows them to use the whole platform.
That's right.
And so for a lot of places, the whole thing would have been out of reach, but this provides an easy way. And we've seen some smaller municipalities starting to deploy FME Server and doing amazing things.
That's right.
That help a pretty small team pull off a lot of magic. Yeah.
Because before Server, the price of Server was out of reach. Yeah. And then we have two other ones, a higher education subscription. This is for the facilities management and running the systems that the Education Institute uses. This isn't about our grant program. So, but again, lots of education institutes, and so we have that. And then last but not least is the small utility subscriptions. In the United States, for example, there's 40% of the people receiving electricity are through small co-ops. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so these small utilities, smaller budgets, and so we want to help them be able to get all the FME they can need.
And again, just to be clear, the subscriptions are not per seat of users.
No.
It's based on the size of your organization, and you just knock yourself out. If you want to give everybody there an FME, go ahead.
That's right.
And also it includes FME Server.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And then the other new one is on the server side. It's this pay-as-you-go. And we did some research on this, and what this one's all about is paying for FME time rather than FME engines. Traditionally, with FME Server, you would buy a server with 5 engines, and sometimes organizations, they have big lifts, they need to move a lot of data, so their 5 engines aren't enough. So what they would like is maybe they'd like 100 engines. I was on a call last night, and this organization has a huge data lift, and they determined that 100 engines is what they need. But they're not going to go and buy 100 engines as much as we would like them to. But what they can do, one of the options they're looking at is this pay-as-you-go, where then they pay for the work and they can deploy them on cloud, on-prem, wherever they want. They can spin up all these engines, do the work, and they pay for the CPU engine time is what they pay for, not the number of engines, right? And again, it's on-prem, in cloud. You can use Spot, not Spot, whatever you want. You provide the infrastructure, whether it be physical or virtual, and FME runs it. And this lays groundwork for where we'll be going with FME platform and this whole serverless. But again, this is an option. There's no plans to remove it, and so just creating more options for you folks. So sometimes the use case, like I was talking last night, a massive one-time data load. Well, one time is 3 years, but basically they're moving from one system to one big database to another. And they need to do this in a controlled fashion, but then every night they need to move again all the data they've already moved.
Oh.
So because they have, of course, all the applications they have to rewrite.
Yes.
Right? FME Server Apps. The thing about FME Server Apps is you might have an app that's really popular from 9 in the morning till 11 in the morning, and with an FME Server app, now for the first time, the administrators are not in control of the load on the server. You've given it to your users. So if you create a really powerful FME Server app, it's good news, bad news thing. Good news, woohoo, look at that, I got 10,000 users on my FME Server apps. It's bad news in that, oop, my server load's gonna go up.
Yeah.
And similar with automations, you might be connecting, in a city, you might be connecting permitting. Well, the permitting systems are gonna be busy in work hours, and then in the evenings they're not. IoT and data streaming, again, another bursty workflow. You might have, an IoT data stream on a parking garage, and then there's very specific times where there's going to be a lot of data as cars enter and leave. But then in the middle of the night or maybe in the middle of the day, there's going to be less traffic. So again, we're seeing more and more of these bursty or these unpredictable workflows, and that's another use case for pay-as-you-go.
Don, is pay-as-you-go by the minute or by the hour?
It's actually by the a fraction. It's by about 100 milliseconds.
Okay, so the person that was worried that we're charging by the hour got
but that would be So basically, what we do is as the engines are running, they're reporting back. They report back to the core, which tracks it. And so at this point, and it's all configurable. At this point, we're thinking 100 milliseconds. That's what Amazon's done for things like Lambda and things like that. Yeah.
So again, we've been asked about this going back at least 15 years. This type of thing. If you go back to the very, very first FME pricing model in the 90s, Don and I thought we were going to sell like this actually.
That's right.
So the technology, we were a little bit ahead of ourselves back then. But here we are all these years later, and the technology is now available for us to to do this. Not everybody will want to go down this path. It's again,
No.
as Don said, a
That's
good
right.
option for those that.
That's right.
that
And,
have
and
these
you know, and
needs.
some folks have said, well, you know, when I'm developing, I don't want this because I could have an app that goes, something goes crazy and chews up a lot of time. And then the answer is there, well, then what you can do is you can use the standard engine,
Yes.
and then you don't have any risk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so there you go. So if you're interested, reach out to sales, and currently have a pilot program. We'll give you some time, and then you can play with it and give us feedback on what you like, what you don't like, problems, things like that. Yeah.
I see somebody asked if they have something that's got 1,000 people using it for 15 minutes a day, can they just pay for that and then just the rest of the day have 2 engines? And that's
Yeah,
exactly
absolutely,
right.
they could. You could spin up those 1,000 engines and then run it and then shut it down. And the thing is, you're not paying when the engines are up. You're only paying when the engines are doing work, and that's a very important distinction.
That's true.
With FME Cloud and FME, you're paying for that engine or that FME Cloud instance just when it's up, not even if it's doing any work. This you're only paying for the work, because sometimes you can't predict when the work's going to hit.
No work, no pay.
No work, no pay. That's right. Maybe we should change the name. Yeah. And for those who come to the UC, we have a special stuffy for PEG. Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I found that out last week. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The FME PEG.
The FME PEG.
I can just imagine.
Yeah. Think of an animal that sort of sounds like PEG. Yeah.
Can we edit that out of the
So when you we'll have to edit that out of the
recording.
That's
okay. So this is how it actually looks
on server. So when it's so in FME Server 2020, if you go to the licensing page, you're going to see, you know, if you have dynamic engines are enabled, you'll see it there. Like that. If you want not, you're going to be saying dynamic engines are not enabled. You know, you'll have 0 hours, and so it's kind of a teaser, kind of taunting you. You know, so we like, so that's what that looks like. Yeah.
Oh, Clay wants you to leave the oink into the recording, Don.
Okay, we'll leave the oink.
Maybe that one you should cut.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Too many oinks. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and also in the cloud marketplaces now. So we have FME Cloud that runs exclusively in AWS. Now what we're doing is we're embracing the cloud marketplaces. So you can, and this is the whole platform. This is not FME Server. This is FME Desktop and Server. So you can go to Google Cloud now, and you'll find the FME Platform there. Everything is pre-installed. You bring your own license, and then away you go. And shortly, it's going to be on Microsoft Azure, and then over time, we'll add more. So initially, they're bring your own license. In the future, we could add hourly.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where that'll go. So right now, bring your own license means you've talked to your reseller partner out there, or else safe. You've got the license code. Really, what we're saving you the bother of is actually installing stuff.
Yeah, and so now it's really easy to launch these within your own VPC, for example, right? So you might have a virtual private cloud. You want to run Google within a Google instance within there. You can't do that with FME Cloud, but now with these you can just do it. So yeah, so we're excited about that. And what do these guys got to say now?
I don't know.
Oh, try out FME 2020 before the March 10th release date. So those who are wondering when it's going to be released, the planned release date is March 10th.
Barring any kind of force majeure.
Yeah. And see, there's the lizard again, just spewing out stuff. And then the Zipster's the guy who actually tells you, well, how, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So you can go try it out right now. If you're on the Mac, there is some issues. Apple has changed their rules around what constitutes a safe installer.
Yeah.
And so we've got a team of people scrambling on that. So I think right now it'll give you some nagging that this is an untrusted app, but don't worry, we're on it.
Yeah.
But everywhere else, it should be. We're down to the last. I looked last night. There's under 100 kind of issues bubbling through the system right now. So it's very, very stable. And give it a spin. Let us know what you might find.
Yeah, and I have a question for the audience. How many people notice that Zipster has his name on his tracks?
I never knew that till the dress rehearsal now.
I know. I think that, and that might be new for 2022. We're going to have to go back into our archives and check.
Stephanie says it was. How about like the giant sort of life-size plastic models we had in 2013?
I don't think they had that.
Yeah.
No.
Well, somebody listening in will have one of those at their desk.
That's right.
They can take a look.
Exactly. So Notice the audience is being quiet.
He said they had an orange sticker on the tracks back then. Thanks, Dan. So that, Okay.
And so, so coming next, we're going to do our FME 2020 Unleashed series. It's a two-parter. And this one will be, you'll get the chance to watch Dale and I with partners basically go for demos and mess things up and just have a good old time.
So I think Jen's joining you, and I think I'm taking applications right now.
That's right.
So
yeah, I'm wondering, does Jen even know?
No, that's news to me.
Oh, yeah, Jen, yeah, well, how about, yeah, so thanks, Jen. So yeah, we like to keep Jen on her toes.
Yeah, that's
hopefully she's in the building on March 17th.
well, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. She might be out. Is she doing world tour stuff somewhere? There shouldn't be one that day.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So anyway, we thought about calling it FME 2020 Unchained, but that might be a little. That's where we're saving that for 2021.
That's right.
But yeah, that'll be a lot of fun, and we'll dig into these things that we showed today in more depth. And Don will show how you can actually create these interesting automations.
Yeah.
And on the desktop side, we'll look at some of these new readers and writers and machine learning things and how you make use of packages. And that sort of thing. And I'm sure we'll show how to upgrade an old stats calculator. Maybe I should get Mark to help me. I know he's got some interesting stats calculator workspace. Mark, are you available? We'll
Mark
see.
Stokes?
Yeah. I guess there's two Marks.
Yeah.
I could do a double Mark.
That's right.
Okay.
And of course, the World Tour, sign up here, safe.com/World Tour. There's over 70 cities worldwide. So, you know, it's a lot of fun. You're going to get a chance to interact with other users, see all the great things that users are doing with FME. And it's always fun to meet FME users from your local city to
There's a networking side to these.
Yeah.
You know, we try to, we actually spend some time just talking about what's going on in the general world of data. So in a way, it's kind of a learning and development day about the industry in general. And then of course, how we're trying to keep on top and add value to your workflows with FME.
That's right. And we feed you a good breakfast. The cost is $25, but every dime goes to the local food bank in your city. So we do that too.
I will mention we do occasionally get letters from food banks, you know, from far away, wondering why in the world did we just get a donation from these gazoonies up in Canada? And so that's very, very, very nice to know that all of you are helping us make a difference in your towns.
And so the big event, of course, is our user conference. We do this once every 3 years. So we did the last one in 2017. And this is a lot. There's 5 tracks. It's going to be about 1,000 users are coming. All the SAFE staff will be there, other than those who just got married.
I found out that one of our staff asked yesterday, is it okay if I'm not there? And I said, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'm getting married the day before. Okay, that's a good reason. We did have somebody one year give birth like a day before, and they came anyway.
And they came anyway. Getting married is a good excuse. Giving birth, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, we run a
and so you're all going to meet lots of users, of course. You'll see about all the things 2020. We'll be highlighting .1, and there's exciting stuff coming for that, as well as the roadmap of where we're going. And it's just a lot of fun. And with that, thank you so much. So we'll do some questions.
We got 12 minutes to start looking at questions. Somebody said Dale and Don are off-roading, and I see one of our staff said he doesn't think we've ever been on the road. I think that's
probably true.
So let's see. Oh, somebody said the cat ate their Zipster. That's a new excuse.
How's the cat?
Yes. So I know somebody was asking in there about Navisworks. I can report that we have been working with a company that makes a library for reading Navisworks, and so that there is movement there. We're not quite ready to commit to when we're going to actually get that into FME, but now we're going to or at least have the foundation there, and there is a plan to do that. So let us know what your Navisworks needs would be, and we'll get onto that. Some folks that are going to want to use FME AR on Android, that's great. Keep letting us know about that. Let's see.
There's something about Pixel 3D. Did I see that right?
That might be a Pixel 3.
Pixel 3.
That might be their phone.
Off the top. So
Let's see. Right now, the FME AR does not let you tap to get info. I don't think. I think you just can look around at stuff. But that is on our list eventually as well. The 2020 release, of course, is on the
March 10th.
March the 10th. The exact date of the Google Sheets disappearing is September the 30th. It was going to be earlier, but Google just in the last week or two said, no, we're going to give people till September the 30th, and then the old API goes away.
It just disappears. Yeah.
So if you're using FME 2018, you should get onto 2019.2 or 2020 before September. And somebody else was asking, I saw it go by, Don, if you could have your choice of upgrading right now, you're moving your organization and you could go to FME 2019 or FME 2020, what would you do?
I'd go to, yeah, I don't even have to think about it. I'd go to 2020.
Yeah. Sometimes people are worried about like breaking changes we made and so on. Actually, 2020 is, I think, very stable. Like, I don't think that there's really a lot of reason not to go to 2020. So I would definitely vote for that.
Yeah. And of course, this is, you know, a few folks have asked about downloading. 2020 you can download now. So yeah. And how do you get a PDF of the book? I'm not sure, but all the information you'll find at that website that Steph's chatted out there, enterpriseintegrationpatterns.com. Yeah.
Somebody asked how we do with hexagon formats in general. Hexagon is, of course, a lot of different companies in there, but specifically on the old Intergraph stuff, we of course do all the GeoMedia warehouses, and I know that on the Leica side we do some of their point cloud formats. But if there is a hexagon format, we don't do their Revit thing, which is called Plant, I think. So they have a 3D modeling thing. But if that would be of interest, do let us know.
Yeah, and that's just a good point, really. Any system you want to connect to that FME doesn't, that's you know, the first, we talk about connect, transform, and automate, but connect really is the first piece in that. So and there's just an endless list of different systems we can connect to, and we're always here to help you, whether it be, you know, using a REST API or some other library and things like that. So yeah, so we're definitely not done.
Don, someone asks if we can save them 15% on their car insurance. We'd love to.
Yeah, wouldn't we? Yeah.
Yeah. Are you from British Columbia by any chance? So let's see. What else?
Someone's asking.
There are some changes to the FME Server Scheduler. So if you go there, we didn't highlight that one, but if you go to the Server Scheduler, you're going to see that the GUI, there's more options where you can say run on the second Thursday of the month and things like that. So have a look at that, Esco, and let us know, you know, what you like, what you don't like, what you would like us to see. But yes, there has been work on the FME Server Scheduler in 2020.
Yeah. Someone's asking what they want to know more information about Pictera and FME. I would say we'll maybe ask you. Dimitri's been the main one doing work on that. Yeah. So Tony, if you want to, we'll just answer you there and send you Dimitri's email address. If you want to drop Dimitri a line, then he can be in touch with you. Basically, my understanding is there's a hub transformer for it, and so you can download that. And how it works is FME is used to kind of prep the data, and then it sends it up.
It sends an image up,
and then the answers come back.
That's right. It comes back with outlines of where it thinks the cracks are if you're looking for cracks.
Yes.
And the beautiful thing with FME is, let's say you're looking at runways, or you're going to have a picture of the whole airport, and then you can, if you don't care about the taxiways so much, you can just overlay and really get the parts that you care about, because you'll probably tolerate cracks on taxiways more than you would on your main runway.
Right. Yeah. And I think also
it can be used for roads, of course. You know, similar thing.
Yeah. So
and then what about Pic4D? There's
Pix4D.
Pix4D. I mean, really, the whole beauty of FME, of course, is replace Pictera with any sort of other technology on the front end, and FME can add the GIF.
Dean has done a bunch of that. So I think that's for aerial imaging, or sorry, drone image, and then stitching it together. I know that's been done. Joanna asks, what about Python 2.7? Well, Python 2.7 officially is dead, I believe.
Okay.
Like it's no longer, which means it's no longer supported. It won't be, updates aren't going to come. And we've taken Python 2.7 out of the main installer of FME, because some organizations that would cause red flags for their security scans.
Absolutely.
But there is a standalone installer you can download and you can add it back in.
Yeah.
And so we aren't going to actively stop supporting Python 2.7 ourselves. So in other words, we're going to keep all the stuff going. That said, as time goes on, there's going to be more of our Python things that use libraries that aren't available in 2.7. Yeah. And some of the transformers already will refuse to work in a 2.7 environment. There's a few of them, not most of them, but a few of them.
Yeah.
We are trying to keep them all going, and we know that like the Esri universe is going to be on 2.7, at least the old Mark map stuff.
Yeah.
So we're not actively looking to kill it, but and we're going to keep it alive as long as we can, but we're not going to turn handstands to go longer
and
than
it is naturally, dying off.
yeah. So anyway, that's that. GraphQL, that would be interesting to support. The answer, I don't think we support the GraphQL API right now.
No.
But I know I just actually read a trip report from somebody at SAFE that went down to a GraphQL conference. And so we are using that internally here as well. Let's see. PLS CAD. I think that, Mark Stokes might know, but I think we've used, or that's often used in utilities workflows. And if I recall correctly, it's an ASCII format, and some people have done stuff with that. Mark might be able to chime in on that. So what else? Let's see. What version of the utility network? Boy, Mark Stokes will have to answer that.
Yeah, Mark will have to answer that too.
I think it's the most recent
I think
one.
we're keeping up, yeah.
LiDAR side of things, the only point cloud stuff this release that I know of is really the Entwine format. So there wasn't a lot of other improvements. Just generally, I think FME got a little bit faster here and there, but that's the main thing. If there is specific LiDAR things, do let us know. Let's see. Anything else? Does FME 2020 support the latest version of ArcGIS Pro? The answer is yes. There's I know that we can read annotations and some of these kinds of things. The team is working very hard. It is kind of under the covers. It's difficult to support ArcGIS Pro at the same time as ArcGIS Map. And within one FME session, what we're doing is figuring out what ArcGIS do you have and trying to pick the most recent and use the correct APIs from there. So my understanding is though that we would, if you just have ArcGIS Pro or you got it installed, we would pick that up and go for it.
Annabelle just chatted me. She said someone asked about SharePoint updates.
Oh yeah, I know that the team is gearing up to do a bunch more SharePoint work very shortly. And so if that is something that matters to you, ping us in these and then that information will get gathered up and we may be in touch with you. We have the disadvantage that we at SAFE ourselves don't use SharePoint.
That's right.
So so it makes it a little more tricky for us to know how to target what we should be doing. So I see a few people chiming in that are willing to help us there. That is great. So yeah, lists. I know SharePoint lists are something we've worked with. I know that it's hard. One of the hard things with SharePoint is that there's lots of versions, and so the on-premises versions can be harder for us to authenticate to than the cloud one. And I think out of the gate, we're looking to support the cloud one, and so that would be something. The ProjectWise connector, Thomas is asking, I know that there were updates there this time around. I don't know exactly what they were, but for sure that there were upgrades there to help people with their use of ProjectWise.
Lots of people willing to help with SharePoint.
Good.
Lots and lots.
Good. I see people asking for a calendar view for schedules.
No, and the we're what we've done is we've added better filtering and we're looking at that. The challenge with the calendar view is that when a workspace starts, but many of the workspaces take a second. And you might have 12,000 schedules for each workspace in a second. Really, we think so. What we're looking at is providing ways where you can see when the server has open windows. So you're going to see us collect information like that. So then you'd be able to look at and say, when can I run this particular workspace where there's an open window where the server has lower load. So, and that's really the challengers. The calendar view tools fall over if you have 12,000 things running in one day. They just
actually, I should. There was the design I saw that actually addresses that quite nicely. So we can look at that. So let's see what else. I think we might be running out of stuff.
I'm thinking in the last minute, attendees have a chance to influence the next webinars that we're going to do. So if there's any demo you really want us to dive deeper into, let us know in the chat because we're in the midst of planning those.
So let us know what you'd like. If all these things we just showed, if you want to see XML XSDs,
absolutely.
That maybe Stephanie would move that XML telethon really up a bit sooner. Greg is asking about USD, but I don't know what he means. US dollars? Oh, a webinar about FMAR would be good. Oh, Esri 10 XML. I'm not familiar with that. Are you familiar with that?
No. Pixar.
Hmm.
Lots of.
Don't know that one, Greg. So we'll have to be following up with you. Oh, CityWorks.
Demo, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good to do.
Yeah.
Oh, multi-page PDF. I'd like to see that myself.
Yeah. Yeah. People have done it and they made amazing PDFs.
Yes.
So absolutely. So
yeah. So that's a good one. All right.
Great.
Well, Neo4j. We've done stuff with Neo4j.
Yes, we have. Yeah.
But there's not an actual reader.
There's not an actual reader.
But that, let us know what the use case would be. That would be a really good thing to do. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we'll hang around to answer any questions that come up if you still are typing. But I think we'll call it for Don and I here today.
Yeah. So thanks so much for taking time out of your day to spend with us. Hope you found it useful. And we're super pumped with FME 2020. So yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so question answerers, hang around and answer the questions that get typed. But Don and I are going to sign off, and we'll see you on March 17th for the unleashing. Okay. Goodbye, everybody.
You can also reach out to us at safe.com and live chat us at any time.
That's true too.
Thanks.